5.
Team
Action!
action.
Action!
The Korean wave is drawing more fans from all over the world. Local consumer prices continue to hover at the 2% since rate in April. Turning to robots to allow the visually impaired the chance to better indulge in cultural experiences. Like the number of hybrid cars are registered in South Korea has surpassed 2 million with this locally developed Yuri rocket. Arirang.
Talks between U.S. and Iranian negotiators in Switzerland have officially ended. Mediators Pakistan and Qatar announced that the meeting ended in a positive atmosphere, with both sides signing on to a concrete roadmap to reach a final peace deal within 60 days. The Korean government has said 2 vessels operated by Korean shipping companies have passed through the Strait of Hormuz. This marks the first time that a Korean ship has safely transited the waterway since the U.S. and Iran signed the preliminary peace deal. South Korea's President Lee Jae-myung has announced a staff reshuffle at the Blue House as he begins his second year in office. A veteran journalist and former CEO of Yonhap News Agency has been named Senior Secretary for Public Relations, while a former prosecutor has been tapped to lead civil affairs and justice policy. U.S. Iran peace talks in Switzerland have concluded with what mediators are calling encouraging progress. Qatar and Pakistan say the first round of talks was held in a positive atmosphere, with both sides agreeing to continue technical negotiations on Lebanon, nuclear issues, and the Strait of Hormuz. Our Chung In reports.
The first round of high-level peace talks between the United States and Iran has officially concluded in Switzerland. In a joint statement released Monday, mediators Pakistan and Qatar announced that the discussions ended in a positive and constructive atmosphere, with both nations signing on to a concrete roadmap to reach a final peace deal within 60 days. According to the statement, Washington and Tehran agreed to establish a high-level committee to provide political oversight on the mediation process. Chief negotiators will report regularly to the committee, while working groups will focus on nuclear issues, sanctions, monitoring, and dispute resolution. To stop regional hostilities, the U.S. and Iran also agreed to create a joint deconfliction cell with Lebanon to ensure a total end of military strikes between Israel and Hezbollah. A communication line has also been formed to prevent incidents and miscommunication involving commercial vessels in the Strait of Hormuz. The talks took place after U.S. President Donald Trump threatened to attack Iran if it failed to rein in Hezbollah. In a social media post, Trump warned that Iran would be hit very hard again if attacks continued. Iran responded sharply, with chief negotiator Mohammad Ghalibaf saying Washington should watch their words carefully and adding that Iran's armed forces were prepared for confrontation. 정혜림, Arirang News.
Israel says it will not back down from its efforts to prevent Iran from acquiring nuclear weapons, despite ongoing talks between Washington and Tehran and Switzerland. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu also vowed to maintain military pressure on Hezbollah and keep Israeli forces in southern Lebanon as long as it's necessary. Lee Seung-jae has more.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says Israel will not compromise on preventing Iran from obtaining nuclear weapons and will continue military pressure on Hezbollah, even as U.S. and Iranian officials hold talks in Switzerland. Speaking at the Jewish News Syndicate International Policy Summit on Sunday, Netanyahu stressed that as long as he's the Prime Minister of Israel, Iran would not have any nuclear weapons.
No matter what happens in the talks, with an agreement, without an agreement, I pledge to you that Iran, as long as I'm Prime Minister, will never have a nuclear weapon.
Netanyahu said Israel's military campaigns against Iran over the past year were launched to eliminate what he described as an immediate existential threat. He argued that without those operations, Iran could already possess nuclear weapons, adding that Israel intends to preserve the gains achieved through its military actions. The Israeli leader also reaffirmed that Israeli forces will remain in a security zone in southern Lebanon for as long as necessary to protect residents in northern Israel from Hezbollah attacks. He stressed that maintaining Israel's security remains a non-negotiable priority. Meanwhile, Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz said troops operating in southern Lebanon face no restrictions when responding to threats. In a statement on Sunday, Katz said the Israeli military remains free to act against any danger to its forces and emphasized that all of the military's achievements in Lebanon are being maintained. His comments came as U.S. Iran talks got underway in Switzerland, with Tehran reportedly placing the Hezbollah-Israel conflict high on the agenda. Despite the diplomatic efforts, Israeli officials signaled they have no plans to ease military operations against Hezbollah, as troops continue to operate in the security zone in southern Lebanon. 이승재, Arirang News.
Two vessels operated by Korean shipping companies have passed through the Strait of Hormuz for the first time since the signing of a U.S. Iran ceasefire MOU. The Ministry of Oceans and Fisheries said this morning that two vessels waiting inside the strait have safely transited the waterway. Both vessels are sailing normally but have yet to fully clear the so-called high-risk zone. Neither vessel has Korean crew members, nor are the ships bound for Korea. Their departure leaves 22 Korean-operated vessels still awaiting passage through the strait. Last week, Iran agreed to keep the Strait of Hormuz open to commercial shipping for 60 days under the ceasefire deal. President Lee Jae-myung has announced a staff reshuffle at the Blue House for his second year in office. Those include new chief secretaries for public relations and civil affairs. Our Yoon Jung-min reports.
In a key shakeup, President Lee Jae-myung has appointed Song Ki-hong, former CEO of Yonhap News Agency and a veteran journalist, as his new senior secretary for public relations.
For the second year in office, we have agreed upon the need to bolster and broaden communication with the public.
As for civil affairs and justice, former prosecutor Han Chan-sik has been tapped to lead related policies, including the follow-ups to the Lee administration's prosecutorial reform drive.
He is the right person to complete the separation of the powerful institution based on the recently established Serious Crimes Investigation Agency and the Office of Public Prosecution.
Pharmacist turned labor activist Kim Kyung-ja has been named to lead social policy. Army Commander Kang Gun-jak will take on the role of the first Deputy Director of National Security to bolster self-reliant defense capability and political neutrality of uniformed officers. And current Economic Security Secretary Song Ki-ho has been promoted and named as the third Deputy Director of National Security, in charge of dealing with increasing global uncertainties. The Chief of Staff noted that the new appointments are aimed at speeding up policy tasks for the president's second year in office. More appointments are expected to follow at the top office, as the post of Secretary for AI and Future Planning remains vacant since the campaigning period for the June 3rd local elections. Yoon Jung-min, Arirang News.
The U.S. military's Terminal High Altitude Area Defense Interceptors have been returned to a South Korean military base, where they were originally deployed. According to Yonhap News Agency on Sunday, all 6 THAAD missile system launchers have been returned to their base in Seongju, North Gyeongsang-do Province. The truck-mounted launchers have been moved to Osan Air Base in Pyeongtaek in March, shortly after the outbreak of the U.S.-Israeli war against Iran. That sparked speculation that the United States could transfer the anti-ballistic missile defense system interceptors from South Korea to the Middle East to support military operations. However, military sources say the launchers and other key components of the THAAD battery remained in South Korea throughout the period. The annual Jeju Forum, one of East Asia's leading public diplomacy platforms, opens next week, bringing global voices together to discuss cooperation in a fragmented world. Our Oh Soo-young sat down with the key organizer.
Creating conversations on cooperation and coexistence. Korea's Jeju Forum will offer space for dialogue at a time when global divisions are deepening. That's according to Lee Sung-an, Director General for Strategy and Policy Planning at Korea's Foreign Ministry. This year's forum brings together political leaders, diplomats, scholars and experts for over 70 sessions, covering regional security and global governance, to cyber threats, artificial intelligence and climate change. The theme, reinventing cooperation in a fragmented world.
The year 2026 started out with a number of developments that really hammered home to us the extent of the fragmentation that's besetting our world. And so at a moment of such crisis, it behooves everyone in the world for us to see how we can come up with better ways, whether multilaterally, whether bilaterally, whether interregionally or minilaterally, to come up with better ways to seek and advance peaceful coexistence.
The Director General noted that middle power cooperation is gaining greater relevance in addressing challenges that cut across borders and traditional alliances. The forum also reflects Seoul's expanding diplomatic priorities.
We've already announced that Korea will have the first ever summit meeting with Central Asian countries later this year. And so in keeping with that spirit, we plan to hold a Korea Central Asia related session on the occasion of Jeju Forum. We'll have another one in relation to interregional cooperation. Also a session focused on how we reconcile the Indo-Pacific with the Asia-Pacific, cognizant of the fact that there seems to be different narratives that permeate the conceptual frameworks of the Indo-Pacific and the Asia-Pacific.
One headline session will bring together 5 candidates running for the next Secretary General of the United Nations.
They will be gathering quite symbolically in the peace island of Jeju, to really pitch their vision for how they plan to lead the most important multilateral organization in the world in this era of turbulence and in an era where multilateralism is increasingly under strain.
The forum is also tapping into Seoul's diplomatic community.
We actually seek to fully leverage and tap into the tremendous intellectual firepower of the diplomatic corps here in Korea. Countries around the world are represented here in Seoul by very able and competent diplomats. So we're very grateful that they're able to contribute their own intellectual prowess to the Jeju Forum and enrich the forum in that process.
The forum will run from Wednesday to Friday next week. Oh Soo-young, Arirang News.
Tano is a traditional Korean holiday celebrated on the 5th day of the 5th month of the lunar calendar. And in Gangneung, one of the country's largest Tano festivals is bringing centuries-old customs to life. Our Shin So-eun was there.
Green-tinted water flows through this person's hair, carrying the fresh scent of sweet flag. One by one, people bow their heads, believing each rinse washes away misfortune and welcomes good health. As the bustling Nanjang marketplace fills up, the rhythmic chants of the shamanic rituals could open Tano Day.
Although many of these costumes have faded over time, they're still very much alive here in Gangneung. Behind me, century-old rituals continue.
Embracing this year's theme of leaving worries behind, visitors gain renewed strength from the first-hand enjoyment of traditional games. Cheers erupt from the Sirim wrestling ring as wrestlers grapple for victory, while giant swing sends hanbok-clad riders soaring into the summer sky. Among 72 programs, the festival's community spirit is perhaps best reflected in its surichi rice cakes. Made from rice donated by households despite rising prices, they offer visitors more than a traditional snack, symbolizing a local commitment to preserving the event.
We took a flight through Air Premia from IED in Washington, D.C. to Incheon. We actually came for the festival. So she's half Korean. My wife is full Korean, right? Her parents are from here. I got kind of thrown into the mix of Korean heritage for a while, and it's just cool to actually see it all develop.
Through its long-standing partnership with the International Information and Networking Center for Intangible Cultural Heritage, the festival also welcomed heritage groups and performers from sister cities and countries, including China and the Philippines.
People from around the world are increasingly interested not only in Korea's traditions, but also in Korea's strong sense of community. Sharing those values helps build deeper cultural connections.
For many visitors, the exchange offers more than a chance to experience Korean traditions, creating a sense of connection that feels surprisingly familiar.
Gangneung is a sister city of Jixing in China, so I was excited to come here. After arriving, I was struck by the warmth and enthusiasm of the people. It really feels like home.
Running until June 22nd, the festival reaches its peak on Dano Day with the Gangneung Sacheonhapyeongdapgyo play, where torch-bearing villagers cross the bridge recognized as Gangwon's intelligible cultural heritage.
After 20 years of its UNESCO inscription, Gangneung Danoje preserves Korea's living heritage beyond borders, bridging communities from all around the world. 신소은, Arirang News, Gangneung.
On the K-pop front, following a concert in Paris to celebrate 140 years of diplomatic relations between Korea and France, boy bands NCT WISH and 82 Major sat down exclusively with our culture correspondent Park Geun-woo. Take a listen.
15 years after SM Entertainment artists brought one of the first major K-pop concerts to Paris, a new generation is now following in their footsteps.
15년 전 파리에서 SM타운 콘서트가 처음 열리면서 파리 시민들이 시위까지 하면서 콘서트가 더 많이 늘어나게 되었는데요. 15년 뒤 NCT WISH가 이 파리에서 공연하게 된 느낌은 좀 다를 것 같아요. 어떠신가요?
We were able to perform overseas thanks to the artists who came before us. We hope to continue growing and become artists loved by even more people.
NCT WISH says events like this highlight how music and K-pop can serve as a bridge between different cultures.
Music connects people even more strongly than language does. Through our performances and music, we'd like to help people understand each other's cultures and become closer.
They even hope to collaborate more closely with French artists in the future.
France is known for so many great dancers. It would be amazing to collaborate with French dancers or perform choreography created by them.
While NCT WISH just begins its journey in Paris, 82 Major has already experienced the city's passion during a recent world tour stop.
We learned a popular French football chant and tried it during our last concert. The crowd immediately joined in, and even after we thanked them, they kept singing it. That was a really touching moment for us.
The group's growing international presence recently earned it a place in a new government-backed program designed to help promising K-pop acts expand overseas.
With the support, we hope to introduce Korea to even more people around the world. We want to incorporate more Korean elements into our music and performances.
올해 한불 수교가 140주년을 맞이했는데요. 이제 K-pop 아티스트로서 그 문화 교류의 가교 역할을 어떻게 하고 싶은지 궁금합니다.
We hope to become a bridge connecting fans from both countries through music. As we learn more about French culture, we also hope French fans will continue embracing our music and culture, creating a meaningful exchange.
And judging by the reception they're receiving, the connection between Korea and France through music appears stronger than ever. Park Geun-woo, Arirang News, Paris.
This is The World Now, bringing you everything you need to know from around the globe. In Colombia, right-wing candidate Abelardo De La Espriella held a narrow lead in Colombia's presidential runoff on Sunday, taking just under 50% of the vote, with nearly 95% of ballots counted. Data from the National Registry Office shows leftist rival Iván Cepeda trailed by roughly 368,000 votes at 48.4%. De La Espriella, who has been endorsed by U.S. President Trump, has promised a tough crackdown on crime, an end to peace talks with armed groups, and a boost to the oil and gas sector. Cepeda vowed to continue the policies of outgoing President Gustavo Petro, including pensions for the poor and a halt to new oil projects. About 400,000 voters cast blank ballots in what is seen as a protest vote. A severe heat wave gripped much of Europe on Sunday, with temperatures approaching 40 degrees Celsius, prompting health warnings, transport disruption, and the closure of hundreds of schools. The surge arrived on the summer solstice, driven by hot air pushing north from the Sahara. France placed about a third of the country on red alert, banned drinking alcohol in public in some areas, and ordered 845 schools to close Monday. Spain put large areas of the country on high alert, with the heat expected to last until midweek. Italy issued red warnings for 8 cities on Sunday, including Milan and Florence. In Cuba, a celebrated hero of the Cuban Revolution, Ramiro Valdez, has died at the age of 94. President Miguel Diaz-Canel announced his death on Sunday. Valdez fought beside Fidel Castro in the 1953 assault that launched the uprising against the Batista government. He was one of only 12 men to survive the 1956 voyage of the yacht Granma that restarted the insurrection, serving as deputy commander to Che Guevara. After the revolution triumphed in 1959, he headed Cuba's security agency and later held posts including interior minister and vice president. He remained active in government into his 90s, focusing on the island's energy crisis. The 5th installment in Pixar's Toy Story series opened with $160 million in domestic ticket sales and $312 million globally in its opening weekend. The estimates on Sunday make it the biggest debut of the year and a franchise record. Toy Story 5 comes 31 years after the original and has far surpassed the $120 million opening of Toy Story 4 in 2019. The franchise had already grossed more than $3 billion before this release. Directed by Pixar veteran Andrew Stanton, Toy Story 5 features returning voices Tom Hanks and Tim Allen, along with a new song by Taylor Swift. 주지현, 아리랑 뉴스.
Temperatures will remain close to seasonal norms this week, bringing fairly typical late June weather. However, you want to keep an umbrella within reach today. Rain is already falling across the southern regions, with 10 to 40 millimeters expected. But Jeju will see heavier rain through tomorrow at dawn, with up to 80 millimeters in the forecast. Meanwhile, central regions and Gyeongsang-Bukdo province will have to watch for passing rain from this morning through the evening. There could be 5 to 40 millimeters of rainfall along with thunderstorms. Meanwhile, the capital is forecast to see downpours at around 5 p.m. Afternoon highs will be 1 to 7 degrees lower than yesterday, getting up to 28 degrees Celsius here in the capital. Chuncheon and Daejeon will make it to 27 degrees. Just beware if you're heading out onto the water. Conditions remain rough.
Now that's all we have for today's noon edition of Arirang News. Thank you for watching. We'll be back at 5 p.m. Korea time. Stay tuned.